So Palm and Passion Sunday is a very schizophrenic worship time because we begin with the joy and celebration and hosannas of Palm Sunday, the welcoming of the conquering hero by the people there in Jerusalem, and what seems to be a certain swell in the spirit and their desire to follow Jesus. But as we often have experienced, we like to project onto God our way that we think things should go. So also the people there in Jerusalem had their idea about how things were going to go. They saw Jesus as a new King David, a new conquering hero, one who would come in and reestablish the kingdom of Israel as the kingdom of God here on earth, and all the Romans would be chased out of there. But we know that's not how the story went. God was up to something very different than conquering through power and force. God was up to something that revealed the power of God instead in obedience and sacrifice, weakness, and even death. In a few moments, I'll be telling the Passion story. And it's a story about how the things that give life were taken away or given up by Jesus as he journeyed to the tomb. Began with his arrest, being forcibly taken away from his community that had been with him for 3 years or so. And so the loss of that community alone and by himself, having to face the authorities that had control at that point. And then he was denied by his closest friend, disavowed basically. And it's hard when our friends let us down. So he lost community, lost friendship, and then he was put on trial and basically condemned as guilty, as being a liar, as being a blasphemer. It's hard being judged. It's hard being judged for the things we do, but even worse when we're told that our being is insufficient, is wrong, or is somehow not good enough. And then humiliated, stripped, mocked, beaten, spat on. His dignity was taken away. And then he was forced to carry the instrument of his execution. Basically enslaved. All control of his body was taken away, and he was forced to carry the thing that would kill him. We tend to like being in control, don't we? We don't like it when people force us to do things. This is what happened to Jesus. You might say he allowed himself to be forced to do that. And then when he was nailed on the cross, his body started being broken. The nails in his hands and his feet, crippled, broken. His health started being taken away. And finally, they took away his life. As we hear once again this journey, it's a hard one. It's a hard story. But if we are to gather again next Sunday and celebrate the resurrection, it becomes more brilliant against the backdrop of the passion of Christ. Just like when there's a light in the darkness, it is so clearly seen. So also, each year we go through this journey with Jesus so that we might once again celebrate the wonderful gift, the wonderful possibility, the power of the resurrection that God through Jesus gave us. We will end the service with that telling of the Passion. I invite you to leave actually in silence, because this really is the kind of the tone of Holy Week. And we'll gather again for worship on Thursday if you're able to make it.